Wow. Here we go again. It's another Friday. We've moved from Friday afternoon live to Behind the Media. And this is, of course, before Behind the Media, when I do a monologue and wait for Dan to come in to bail me out. It's pretty much what I do.
You're doing a very good impression
Of Dan?
Yeah, you've got that deep throat.
Oh, I've got my Barry White voice. Is that what you're saying? Yikes. It's, whew. I don't know how we're going to deal today, but we're here. I'm waiting for the big guy. We're waiting for the big guy to come in and take over, and got a lot to do. Oh, I think I forgot to highlight this article. Well, that's something I can do. Gee, I wonder what we'll be talking about today, huh?
Well, we don't have any subjects today.
No subjects?
No, today it's called Wing It Friday.
Wing it? Wing it? I like winging it. I've always winged it. People might say that is my middle name. Wing it.
Wing It Friday.
Yep.
Some people call it Freestyle Friday. That sounds more professional.
Well, that's also a ripoff of a sports radio Freestyle Friday, I just want to say. I think that's a Felger and Maz thing here in the Boston market.
Everybody uses that. I think they do that on one of the other stations as well. But it was a good week. Good week. You know, it's one of those first weekends where we're not doing a million different things. Just 100,000, but not a million.
You mean
me?
You,
yeah,
the Lothian family.
Right. Every weekend is usually jam-packed. We're
racing either go-karts or humans.
Right. So that all ramps up again next week, but this is that rare break weekend that we get.
It's your bye week.
It's a bye.
It's a bye week.
It's a bye week. My wife is doing something, but I don't have anything.
That's good.
I don't have anything. I'm going to mow the lawn. You know, nice. I'm going to relax.
This is what we do before the show, by the way, just explanations. Since I really haven't seen you for more than probably an hour the entire week.
Exactly, yes. 1 hour and maybe 20 seconds.
That's right. Maybe.
But this is Behind the Media, before Behind the Media.
There you go, it's before.
And so it just kind of gets us going. We already did... There's another show that we do in here on Friday sometimes, and I did that earlier. So I've been talking a lot.
I can tell.
I don't have to do. I don't have to do. Usually, I do PBS at the end of the. I run out of here, and I have to go get TV ready. I don't have to do that today.
So you really almost have a weekend off.
I do. Now I've scheduled a call for 1 and another one for 2, so I can't take off just yet. But it is much more relaxed than oftentimes is the case on a Friday. So you're doing last-minute research there, Jimmy?
Well, no, I researched it. I just didn't highlight it. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with what's going on.
Yeah, we have lots of interesting stuff. I mean,
I mean, you know what? It's interesting.
Yeah.
The thing I found most interesting was the timeline of the release of the images from the border.
Oh, yeah.
Which I found interesting.
It's
Added comment, added information, added report, and how it changed in practically 4 hours.
Everything can change.
Well,
that's a little tease that we're giving you. It's one of the
enough.
stories that we'll be talking about today.
Let's just make
I
it
have a different kind of water. I have purified water. So there's always that debate between spring water and purified water.
They're both just filtered water. You understand that?
They're either both filtered or they're both spring. But there's no real difference. You know, it's better, I think, in some cases than just drinking straight out of your tap. But it is, you know.
Nobody, and very few people I know drink out of their tap anymore.
Yeah, I guess not.
No,
we used to do it all the time as kids.
We
would drink in Florida. Do you remember drinking out of a hose in your yard? You just go, you're running around. There's that taste of summer water coming out of a rubber pipe. Do you remember what that was? That rubber hose.
Yeah.
It had that rubber hose taste.
Yeah, that's
And-
what I try to avoid
Yeah,
now.
yeah. We try not to do that, but anyway. So
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we're gonna. We won't be drinking out of a hose today, but you will be listening of a gush of great media
Oh, I like
behind
that.
the
Good
a
segue.
gush of behind the media stories coming your way right now. Hit it, Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an
Oh,
educator,
I'm embracing it.
I want you to use
You
the
can
phone
use it. No.
to help teach these
You don't
kids.
need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
No, not a gong, a bong
A
with
bong.
a B.
That's right. I said
The
gong.
gong is a
That's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
Bong.
makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is, you have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying, which one do you want to be? The power of one picture, a gripping image, helps to define the immigration separation controversy. You've seen it. We'll talk about it.
Are you more informed or just overwhelmed? One veteran newsman says we're facing a crisis of information proportions.
What is IGTV? It's a news service from a popular social media site that's moving into YouTube territory.
Oh, goodness. And we have bites behind the media, lots of bites, quick hits of other stories everyone's buzzing about, including the Echo. We're hearing at Northeastern University here in Boston. Cuba eases its grip on state media, and I really don't care. Do you? For $37, you too can own a jacket.
I care. I care about everything.
Yes,
School is out. The crossing guards have packed up, and the speed limit in our studio is 100 miles per hour. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand, which we'll be talking about later with Jimmy. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So you take a picture and you change the conversation, Jimmy. You've seen that image of the crying child at the feet of her mom and also a border agent. It went viral, and it really stirred up the controversy that has now led to policy changes in the Trump administration. Really the first time that we've seen the Trump administration back off of something because of the blowback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it couldn't happen fast enough as far as I'm concerned. And it did happen very fast. In fact,
It did.
practically over 4 hours.
Wow. Just since and again, for those of you who haven't seen it, just Google the picture. We'll actually put it up, link it on our Facebook site as well.
Yes, well, I think we can. You know, it's a Getty image. I want to make sure
Well,
that
we'll
we
link
give
to-
lots of credit.
We link to the link. We link to the story. We're not putting the picture up there.
Right,
We're going to
because
link to
we
it.
don't want to cause any
Right.
issues
But
and
it's
get
a
fined.
dramatic shot of the little girl in tears, sort of looking up, and you don't see the face of her mom. You don't see the face of the border agent. Just this little girl and these grown-up legs in the shot there.
And I think it really goes, it shows again how, and I know it's cliche, how a picture tells 1,000 words, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And when I teach, I usually put up a picture on the screen and I say, okay, let's see if we can come up with 1,000 words to describe what we're seeing. And it goes to the impact of the visual image, whether that's
we are
video,
a visual society.
We are a visual society, and especially in social media. And I might add, because while we're talking about this very powerful image, Time Magazine did something with Photoshop with this image.
They did.
That, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel. I'll be perfectly honest. As you
Yeah.
know, I am not a big supporter of POTUS.
Right.
In this case, I really think the media went overboard. I really do,
Well,
because it's
yeah.
it's fabricated.
Describe for what
Okay,
it is
so
that
you've
you're
got
talking
a
about.
crying. We
have the
kind of
child.
described that we have this Mexican child who is a diminutive.
Right. It's
You know,
a child.
It's a
a little girl.
It's a small human.
Right.
That's called a child. Right. And next to the child.
Well, there are those 7'4" out there sometimes, but yes.
Anyway, and I believe Photoshop, you can actually just take out
Cut it
that
out,
image of the little girl, and they put POTUS next to this little girl looking down
right.
at her. And the caption is something like "Welcome to America,"
Right,
Welcome
exactly.
to Trump's America,
Right.
or something like that.
Right. Now, it's
a fabrication. It's designed to sell magazines,
and it's designed to get us to talk about
and
it.
it's designed to, and they sure did a good job with that.
Right.
And again, but it just gives him so much more power about
To say, look at those
fake news.
Right.
Look what they're doing to me again, and it's.
But at the same time, it is, and you understand why. Let's strip aside the political divide that we have here. That picture does make sense in the context of what has been going on. His administration had a policy. This picture represented the harshness of that policy. This picture drove the reversal of the policy. And so it makes sense. It's not completely out of left field. Now, if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, then you see this as yet another piece of the liberal media trying to do too much with this story, which you've heard some say that it's being overblown. But at the same time, it's within the realm of accuracy to make a point about something that's legitimate.
Yes, and if it really wanted to be powerful, and by the way, this child standing.
You're having trouble with the size of the child.
Well, no, I'm trying to, again,
You use, for those of you who are just
I
listening,
speak with
Jimmy
my
does
hands.
his hand.
I speak with my hands.
It's as if you have the sense that a child this is unusual that a child is small.
Right. Well, you know what I say, Dan? You've heard me say this. If you're young enough to be my kid, you're a kid. Okay?
Right.
So and that could go to like 35, 40 years old now,
and
right?
It would not be the variety.
It would not be
of
the
this.
small version
Right.
that I'm using. All right. Anyway, the image, first of all, you do not see the face of the mother.
Right.
You only see the.
It's like waist down, basically.
Right, because the Border Patrol guy, I guess, is patting her down.
Right.
And
I
by
guess
the way,
so, right.
don't understand whether that's a male or a female doing the patting down. I said generic.
The
It
leg
looks-
structure appears to
like
be
male.
that of a male, but
Okay.
it could be
And the
an athletic
child
woman.
is crying. Okay?
Right.
Now, this is what a child does, by the way, when they're not getting their
Right.
way or they don't understand something.
Only children?
Well, some cry,
Right.
some whine,
Right.
some shout.
Right.
That being said, this child was crying. But what we didn't see, Dan, was the child being. There are images out there that we see the children actually being taken away from the parent,
Right.
which I think would be even more powerful as far as an expression goes than this.
Well, no, not
Tell me
necessarily.
why.
Not
Tell me
necessarily.
why.
Because you know how, well,
Tell me why.
I'm
Explain
gonna
it to me.
make a weird connection
explain
here.
it to the
okay?
sports guy in
so
the room,
hear,
will ya?
hear me out, even though I'm starting with the word Playboy.
Okay.
So there is this notion that unclad women aren't necessarily as sexy as partially clad women. There is this
Okay.
nature that everything isn't revealed, and so what's kind of being held back is what makes it so dramatic. So in this particular case, and again, not making a parallel between what's happening at the border and Playboy, but just for the visually how these pictures are sometimes
how
right.
impactful a photo can be.
Exactly. So in this particular, if you see a number of photos of kids being taken away from their parents, it's just one of another tragedy, of a child being taken from their parents. What the pictures that always stand out are almost isolated in a way, yet partially connected to whatever that thing is. I go back, for example, the Syrian crisis, when it had been going on forever. Okay,
I can see
and
that picture.
nobody, the average person wasn't getting riled up. A lot of people were paying attention to it, but they weren't all galvanized around one thing until there was that photo of the body of the child washed up on the shore. You could have had a photo of a lot of kids washed up on the shore, or you could have had kids being rescued and this, that, and the other. Bottom line is, it was the way that picture touched people because it was different. It stood out. And I think that's what it is. If you're showing everything, sometimes it takes away from you being able to imagine something even much worse than you're seeing. So you're there and you just see half bodies of the border agent and the mother. You don't really know what's going on there. In a way, it seems like the mother is there, but then this child is there by themselves. You add a layer of imagination that gets you worked up. And that's what happened in this case. And this picture went viral, which led to change.
Right. And I don't know, have we given John Moore, the photographer?
No, we have not
Images?
given it.
Let's give him a little credit because I do respect photojournalists because they are telling stories with their cameras, with their images, and as we can attest to, very powerful. What I don't understand, and let's go behind the media here for a second. You know, when you are a news person and you go into a school where you do not have releases to use the images of under 18-year-olds, they digitize and blur out the faces.
I'm glad you brought this up,
Okay,
Jimmy.
because here is a non-American, a Mexican person coming to this country, trying to get into this country. And we're not showing the mother and the Border Patrol,
but we're showing the
adults, but we're showing the kid.
I'm so glad you brought that up because this goes back to that whole debate about how we will show dead kids from other countries, but we're not going to show dead kids on a sidewalk from American kids.
The horrible stories that we've seen out of schools and the shootings.
Exactly, like you're not going to show that, but if kids are dead in some other country somewhere, it's okay to do that. It almost seems
because we're a litigious society. Perhaps
it's partly that. I think there's a bias there sometimes that seeps into it. It's like, well, that's them from there, and we can just do whatever we want, and they're coming here. I don't know. I mean, I haven't found a lot of research on this, even though this has been discussed at various different, events that I've been at over my career. But it is an important question for us to examine because you're right. I mean, if that had been, happening at a school somewhere, would we have just been willing? There may have been more debate around whether they should use it or whether they should get permission to use it and so forth. I don't know. Maybe there's something to this that we don't know, but I doubt it.
Right.
I think this was just took a picture, you put it up there, low risk.
And Dan, through the years and through history, we've seen images that come to my mind through John saluting the casket as it goes by.
Right.
Okay, I mean that.
And for those of you who don't know who John is,
oh my God,
John
really?
F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes,
at his father's funeral, he was the president of the United States. He was assassinated.
Was driving by. That was crazy. The Vietnamese child that had the napalm.
You know
1972.
what? The naked Vietnamese child. You know what?
Yep.
One of my producers was actually there. Art Lord. He passed away. But he was actually there, and part of that, when she was coming down the sidewalk, he was covering the war for NBC News at the time.
Yep, and it was a photo by photographer Nick Ute.
Right.
UT.
Every single major event.
I like that they actually identified the young girl.
Yeah. Actually, I think she was later on some sort of documentary or whatever. But it is amazing how pictures, and it's a little different than the world we're in, which is the video world, where we capture lots of different moving images at all times.
A gazillion images compared to what it was like in the old days where we'd get one or two.
Well, actually, and back in the real old days, now they can basically click like crazy and then isolate what they want. Back then, you click, click. You couldn't fire off as many different shots. So now you can just get all the motions, then pick the right one. Not to take away the artistic abilities of the photographers nowadays, but a little different.
It's a secret that I use all the time. If you just
take the video and
stream the video, you can pick a frame.
I did that the other day with my daughter. She was running, and I got it just back.
I saw that picture.
That came from
nice
video.
Picture.
Thank you very much. I will point this out, though, Jimmy, and this goes along with what we've been talking about. Josh Meltzer, who is an assistant professor of photojournalism at the Rochester Institute of Technology, in this article, and I believe it was the Washington Post where I saw it, said that the photo communicates a lot with just a glance. Quote, "This offers a lot very quickly and very powerfully. The emotion on top of all that factual information is what elevates the picture to a really profound image. That quick read is well suited to a world where we speedily sift and scroll through content online."
Yeah. And this is the 24/7 news cycle. This is what goes on. And we kind of teased this before behind the media, was in 4 hours. So this photo by Getty Images was released June 21st at 6:28 a.m. Pacific time. Okay?
Okay.
There was an immediate comment an hour later, 7:37, from the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, which I believe had something to do with the fact that okay, we weren't taking this child away from the mother.
Right.
We were just making sure she wasn't carrying any firearms or anything that would cause damage or whatever. At 8:21 p.m., there was information added about the Time magazine cover. So, needless to say, this is what, 10:30, 11:30 in the morning. Somebody at Time magazine saw this and immediately went into, hey, guess what we can do with this,
exactly.
right? 9:01 a.m., more information about from ProPublica Audio.
ProPublica, yeah.
And then after that, added Bloomberg's report on the reunification. So this happened, this photo hit, and within 4 hours, I believe that
it moves very
the
quickly,
POTUS and his administration decided, oops, we can't let this go in. Because I think when you get right down to it, Dan, we all care about kids.
Right.
I mean, we just do. As humans, you know that kids are there. We're trying to actually create a world that will make it better for kids.
And they get caught in the middle of politics.
Yes, they do.
And this is a case where
Yes,
that
they
led
did.
to some change. In this article, and I'll just wrap up this part of it, where the article says, for viewers, it was also a first intimate look at a situation they may have only heard about. So not everybody's been paying as close attention to it. It has been in the headlines everywhere, but this photo begs its audience to wonder, what happened to that little girl in the pink sneakers? So it's the emotion that something like this can draw out. We've seen the effects of it. A picture can really move not only a community, but an entire nation.
All right, let's go behind the media.
Yeah.
Okay, because I love that. That's why we call it.
That's why we go behind the media. So should I crawl behind this TV just to see what's back
so
there?
You
There's
stay
an
right there.
HDMI
I throw
port.
something out and I need a reaction.
Okay.
Because that's what I love to do on this show.
Okay.
So we have a still image.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of moving images. Let's face it. As a news reporter and video journalist, usually it's video that's moving.
Right.
What is more powerful, a color still photo, a black and white still photo, or actual video moving that shows and you can hear the emotion? And I'm adding audio to it because usually with video comes audio alongside and natural sound. I always say the camera acts as an eavesdropping device from the world to go into the huddle, if you will, or into that particular at the border, so you can actually hear and see what is going on in real time. What is more powerful as an award-winning journalist, Dan? What is your feeling about that?
Well, I don't know that there's a clear-cut answer to it because there are caveats here. First of all, I think if a picture is so unique as this one was, or the child washing up on shore, if you had gotten a piece of video of those events, those just standalone events, the picture was more powerful than the video. And I think in most cases, a really great shot is much more powerful than video. I think a black and white picture, I like black and white pictures in general. I'm not so sure that I necessarily think that they're more gripping or more powerful because I feel as if they're making me want to feel the emotion. So they turned it into black and white. It's not as if we don't have color. That to me, it doesn't really do it. I think it's a neat technique and so forth. Right. But the more vivid with the colors is what resonates with me. Now, where video, I think, has the upper hand is if you have someone on a sidewalk, like the large man who had been was being arrested by a police officer, and he had his knee on his back or something. He couldn't breathe, and he says, "I can't breathe," or something like that. Or
which time?
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, but there was one in particular that we remember. There was another time at an event in Florida during the campaign year where this millennial kind of guy was being pushed out, a protester being pushed out at an event, and he said, "Don't tase me, dude," or something like that.
Don't tease me, bro.
Sorry, bro. So when you take those kinds of pictures and you add the right, or video, and you have the right kind of audio with it, that's something that would have never resonated as a picture.
Right.
Because it needed the audio to back it up. Right. So that's why I think sort of if you want me to pick one, then I would say, I think a picture is usually what does it for me. And video works with sound or the narrative of the correspondent or the producers working on it.
Yeah, we all recognize the importance of using the camera as that eavesdropping device to take you to that actual moment. And in that particular case, with the little girl, you notice I didn't use my hands this time.
Yes, you didn't.
I did. Okay, I'm holding them.
But that was tough.
And it is tough.
Yeah.
You could hear her screaming. without actually hearing, without the audio.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you could.
Because of
which is
her
much more
reaction,
powerful.
her facial
and you know what?
expression.
And when you're hearing her in your mind,
Yeah.
it can be louder than it really is.
Right.
It can be more heart-wrenching than it really is. And
Yeah.
that goes to that quote I was just reading a while ago where we put into it whatever we wanted to get out of it. And that's what makes it so gripping.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the image of the Vietnam girl,
Right.
with the napalm and having her clothes burnt off. Is the other image that stands out in my mind forever? The fireman 9/11
Yeah.
in the debris
Yeah.
when pushing up that American
The
flag,
American flag.
like
That
the
was
Iwo Jima
that
kind of thing.
that
Woo!
was powerful. I mean,
Very
we could sit
powerful.
here all day and talk about these images, but
Yeah.
it's great to see that that great images are still appreciated, and that the right kinds of images can cause wrongs to be righted.
Yep.
And this is a case where you can argue about what this actually means in this policy shift, that it shouldn't have even happened in the first place. But the bottom line is, I think there's been some course correction, and there are a lot of forces that align behind that. But this picture being at the center of it,
The right thing happened. That's the most important thing. Notice I said the
Yeah,
correct
right.
thing
The correct
happened.
thing. Very good,
happened.
Jimmy.
Thank you very much. And what I found interesting also about this is the outrage on social media
Yeah.
and the power of the reaction of the people once again saying this is wrong.
Right.
Okay. And within hours, they made a policy change,
Right.
and
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
There's
It is
two
a
good
thing.
things you've said about the Trump administration now. I'm
Oh.
keeping tabs.
Careful. I did use his name once.
Yes, you did.
And that wasn't a good thing. It was just a fact. It
It was a better
observing.
thing. Yes, you
Just
observed.
observing.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
Trust me, I have the rest of the show to make up for it. Okay.
If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have any questions or comments? Reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Are you feeling a little under siege by information? Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first visit, visit mackweldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So it was veteran newsman Bob Schieffer from CBS, great guy. I've met a number of times, and
I love it when he drops those names, by the way.
Yeah, well,
hey,
you
he's
know,
a buddy of
Bob
mine.
and I
got
were
him
hanging out in
we're
Washington.
hanging out with Bob Schieffer. Okay.
But he believes we're facing a crisis of information proportions. And what he's talking about is that we're getting hit by so much information that we can't really process it. So the question is, are we more informed? Do you think we're more informed because of all of the barrage of information that we process each day? Or is it a lot of noise that we really don't care about?
Well, it's interesting. And again, how many times have we talked about millennials who think they're great communicators because they can text and do multitasking and thinking that I could but they can't pick up a phone and have a conversation with
a phone,
someone.
right? What's that?
Wait,
a real phone?
I just use that thing. I just use that thing for texting.
Right? How do you text on a landline?
Right, exactly. I like what Schieffer said. He really calls it a crisis in American journalism.
Yeah, no, he does, and basically, I mean, this all comes out of a book that he has just written, a new book. He's written many books, but this one is called Overload: Finding the Truth in Today's Deluge of News. And what he's saying is that we're overloaded with political news, with information, and with misinformation. And so we're thinking, there are all of these ways that we can get information online, on TV, on radio, listening to podcasts like ours.
Yeah.
And so there's so many ways that we can get this. So you would think that we're a better informed, more educated, if you will, audience. But in fact, there is this sense that maybe we aren't.
No,
you know?
and in fact, what I think is happening is the public is basing their opinions on what they have seen in their world from whatever source they get it from.
Right.
And they're making up their own minds about what they see and hear. And that is, kind of dangerous. He's talking, again, it's the revolution. It happened so fast. Communication technology changed so fast, this 24/7 news cycle, that, what Schieffer says, we're no longer basing our opinions on common data. It's not the same story on all three networks,
Exactly.
Dan. Okay?
I know.
And it's not. It's 8 different networks.
With all different kinds of data.
With all different kinds of data.
Some of it made up,
Right.
thrown in there.
Right. And how do you decide who do you trust? And isn't that really what it comes down to? Is now there's a crisis in credibility.
Right.
Who do you believe? CNN is left wing, and Fox is right wing, and I'm like so sick of it. Just give me the darn facts. In fact, where's Associated Press when you need it?
Yeah,
Because AP will just give you the facts.
Well, some people think that's fake news too. But in fact, they weren't allowed into an event along with CNN recently. But I think it is this notion of information overload is so real. And people, you see, I always like to give this example. When I was covering the White House, there was a woman who did some work for me down in Florida. And so since I was working at the White House, she thought I would be the pipeline for information and answering any question that she had. So she would get these newsletters or whatever it was she was subscribing to that were anti-Obama. And she would say, tell me about the new wallpaper that they have, or wallpaper curtains that had apparently, Muslim symbols on them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just regular designs or whatever. But apparently someone had just taken that and sent it around, craziness. And now this was information that she was buying into. The second one was, I remember she sent me something that had a bunch of photos of past presidents, wherever they were, standing in front of an American flag. And then someone strung together a bunch of photos of Obama without an American flag behind. And she goes, is it true that he's anti-flag? And I'm like,
God.
okay. So when I responded is, the president doesn't walk around with a flag behind him at all times. You can pick and choose whatever pictures you want.
He walks around with a green screen behind him, and you can superimpose whatever you want back there.
There was the same thing of not wearing the lapel pin with a flag and so forth. It's ludicrous. So there's so much information out there. You don't know what sources they're coming from. People make up, whatever, the Town Gazette, which is somebody in their basement. Mm-hmm. So that all filters into the same stream of information, and I think it becomes much more difficult for people to decide what is real, what isn't, or they may not even want to decide because there's just too much that they're being bombarded with.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, you and I have talked about the decline of local news now and how difficult it is to actually maintain a news department in a smaller operation. Mr. Schieffer talks about how he thinks that we need local newspaper or local journalists, local storytellers to provide us with the facts in our backyard.
About things we should be paying attention to.
Correct.
And
rather than creating things that really aren't there and yet are being spun by national media. Should there be some kind of a regulatory authority, some kind of censorship that goes on. All right.
That's my dog. Whenever anyone comes to the door who shouldn't be there, actually no. Anytime anybody comes to the door, the dog ready to bite off the legs.
Yeah, I guess we're not going to ever get to the point where. How about a ratings, ranking? I don't know, like A, B, C, D. I don't know.
And the reason I was barking like a dog is because Jimmy was going down that whole thing of regulate the media.
I don't want to regulate it as much as I want to give them a score of credibility or something.
Well, there is somebody. Remember, we did a read on some group that was going to give a score.
Like the kitchens in New York, right, where they have an A rating, a B rating, or a C rating, and if you get to D, you definitely don't want to go
do any
into
ratings at that point. Actually, once you get past A, you don't even B. Because I've walked by B's before. It's like, wow, why don't they have an A? I think I'll go to the A. So really, there should only be A or not. Yeah. Because would you walk into a C restaurant? What about no, I wouldn't.
I don't even like to walk by a C restaurant.
No, you might catch something.
Breathe those fumes.
Exactly.
Get indigestion just by walking by.
One other thing I want to say, and this Bob Schieffer, by the way, this article was written up on Bob Schieffer, who was at an event promoting his new book, and it said this: the crisis in American journalism is really a national security issue. So national security, he says, is all part of this. Quote, if people don't understand why the government takes the policies that it takes, it's very difficult to build support for those policies. So again, people aren't really processing information. They're just hearing the noise. It's going in one ear and out the other, or going in the one ear and into their heart, their partisan heart, and that's all that they regurgitate. And so what happens when there's something they really need to be paying attention to? They're not. And he believes this is a national security issue.
And he's not wrong. I mean, you can certainly argue it for sure. I think people, again, are using their own human behaviors to decide what they're going to believe and what they're not going to believe.
Right.
And and I think that, again, that lies that imagine one of those images gets out, it talks about national security, and it gets into the hands of a foreign power.
Right.
I'm just saying. And they're looking at it and say, see,
right,
those Americans, they're doing it again. Right. Or whatever.
Look, I think that there is so much. There's the good and bad, and we've discussed this before. There's the good and bad of technology. It allows us to do what we're doing right here. It allows people to instantly bring you information from around the world via Facebook, where before you had to wait till the networks got there and put up their satellite dishes for you to see it. So we know if we want to, we can follow pretty much anything from around the world. In fact, my son was obsessed for a while with street cameras at intersections around the world. There was this one app. You could watch intersection cameras around the world. It would do a split screen. It was really cool. Like, I remember one night
I got a ticket because of that once.
I remember we were sitting there one night, and it was morning in Sweden or something, and we were watching this guy try to cross a busy street. And it's just there. It's at your fingertips. You can get a lot of information. The question is, how do you process all of that stuff and get to the heart of what you need to know on a daily basis? For me, I unplug from a lot of it. My son gives me the headlines.
Right. And a lot of people are unplugging because of this.
And they are. But they're missing out on things, too. That's the problem. If you completely unplug, you're missing things that you really should be paying attention to. So it's like, it's good if you unplug, but it's also dangerous if you do. And so, anyway, it's something that I think it's a wonderful debate to have, so that we will pay attention to this and realize that we're not necessarily a more informed society today. We have the information. We may not, it's like, yeah, Dan, I hear you. I'm listening to you, but do you really hear me? Yeah. Right? You can be listening. Your ears are open. The information goes in your ears, but did you really hear what they said? And I think it applies in this case as well.
Educated versus uneducated people, Dan.
Yes.
Someone really likes the uneducated people.
Oh, yeah. You can feed them whatever they want. If you like the information that you're getting or you're overloaded by it, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com, or you can comment on our Facebook site as well. If you like this episode, let us know. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. Again, you can reach out to us with any comments at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com.
And where do they get this podcast? Isn't it on the CLNS?
It's on the CLNS media network, and it's out there on Apple, iTunes, and Stitcher, and on the worldwide network of all things. It's halftime, ladies and gentlemen, and we are the people of worldwide all things. This show is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. I have not checked in with Jimmy to find out if he's wearing his Mack Weldons today.
I am not. And
oh, my goodness. That's 2 weeks in a row that he has not.
You know what? They're my go-to pairs now.
Right.
So I go through them fast.
Okay.
Let's just say, at least
well, you've
got
to start cycling them in so that you're
on
wearing
Fridays,
them on
I
Fridays.
have a pair. I know. I'm
exactly.
sorry. And you know what? From now on, Dan,
Friday,
I will do a special load on Thursday nights just to make sure
I'm glad you said special load on
Mack
Thursday night.
Weldon
Speaking about load and underpair. Oh, okay.
You know where I was yesterday.
Oh, Lord. We'll save you guys from that one. Whatever you're wearing right now, Mack Weldon is much better. Mack Weldon believes in smart designs, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. It's the winning formula. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants you've ever placed on your wonderful little body. So get on board with the people who know. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. This show is also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. What is IGTV? Not HDTV, but IGTV. Watch out, YouTube. Somebody else is coming after you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So, IGTV. Had you heard about it before?
Not before you showed me this. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because it's on one of those social media networks that I have no desire to get involved with.
Instagram?
Yeah, I just don't. I'm
Really?
sorry.
Why?
Because it's like
It's
Twitter.
about pictures.
It's like
It's about showing beautiful pictures.
Ay.
That's what they say.
You know
right?
what? I just am starting. I'm on the Facebook. Oh, now Facebook's nobody's watching Facebook. We're live streaming
the
on
Snapchat?
Facebook. Snapchat. Not
the
happening.
Snapchat thing? It ain't happening.
I actually pick up a phone and talk to people, Dan. I know that sounds
that's
strange.
that's a Snapchat.
That's an old
of sort, right?
Well, no,
it's a chat.
FaceTime would be the most.
No, it's playing off the words.
I
It's
know
like
what you're
you
playing off.
made a snappy decision to chat on the phone.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
So Instagram is now a video network.
Yeah, it's their version of YouTube, essentially, is what
Yeah.
they're starting. Why in the world would they want to do something like this, Jimmy?
Because they want to make more money. That's
Yeah.
why, and they want to have more content and longer content. And you know what? I'm so overwhelmed with social media these days. It's crazy. And you know what? I am, as we know, older.
Oh, no. I thought you were
My
younger.
name is young. My body is old. What can I tell you?
Nice.
All right. That being said,
yes.
I just, you know what? I can't grasp Twitter, and I can't grasp Snapchat, and I can't grasp Instagram, because it is really a young person's media communication.
Well,
thing.
I mean, it has been going through changes. So Instagram started as just pictures, people posting pictures. Then it became a tool for young people, mostly, to communicate. They're actually having dialogue, and there's the direct, so you're not doing publicly, but you can have sort of instant messaging that you use that for as well.
Does it disappear once you send it out?
No, it doesn't.
So it's up there.
So the one that does disappear,
Is
as part of
Snapchat.
as part of that, there's a thing called My Story. And so once you click on that and you see it, and then that goes away. I mean, so it's kind of an instant thing. Hey, this is my story. It's a little circle at the top. You click on that, and you can see it, and then it goes away. At least for me.
Okay.
But the thing is that it was just pictures. And everyone realizes that there's a lot of power in video. And so they've been trying,
Really?
everyone's been trying to kind of figure out how can they find the winning formula for that. YouTube has been the leader in it. But I think a lot of people out there are getting tired of YouTube. There's been some complaints out there about users who feel like they aren't getting compensated for the kinds of eyeballs and the whole monetization model that they have around
joke.
it. So
The monetization model is a joke. But what YouTube, as you know, YouTube has YouTube TV.
Right.
And
exactly.
I, as a cord cutter, am starting to cut the cord, and I have signed up for YouTube TV so I can watch live TV on YouTube.
Yeah. And is that working okay?
I signed up for it, and I haven't tried it yet. My son's coming over to explain it to me.
Oh,
now that
there you go.
I've figured it out, that hey, maybe this is a good way to save some money. And
Yeah,
it is.
Mr. Jimmy Young, who's
I
not
have,
really.
I have reduced my cable bill by $40 a month, and it is a much more difficult user interface with the FiOS. I'm definitely
Having everything.
I
Yeah.
moved from Comcast to FiOS. I have noticed a little bit quicker uploads and downloads using the FiOS, but again, I'm just trying to figure out ways to get the same access to the same content
Right.
on demand, because the consumer is in charge of their
Consumers driving the bus. Yes,
they're driving the bus, and this is why IGTV actually started. From what I'm reading between the lines here, is that more and more people are watching, they're getting their content when they want it,
right,
on demand. And on mobile technology.
And they have the eyeballs already, because this is a massive site, Instagram. Everybody is, except Jimmy, is involved in Instagram. And so they want a piece of the pie. Here's an interesting sort of getting at the why, and this was an article from the Washington Post. Video viewing, particularly on mobile, is up significantly over the past 5 years as traditional television declines. Video has also proven a lucrative area for online advertising dollars, while more traditional text ads have stagnated. Tech giants including Google, Amazon.com, and Apple have all invested in different video efforts. Facebook itself started an aggressive video push last year. We saw that with the
Behind the Media.
Well, we're the lead push for that.
We were early adapters.
Right behind us is Tom Brady and his show that he's doing, and
Tom
then of
versus
course
Time.
Exactly. They've been heavily promoting its live streaming technology, and also in some cases funding original content on demand, which is Tom Brady. Time versus Time. Tom versus Time. So that's the why they're doing it. It's about money. And it's easy for use. Easy to use, easy for people to adapt to it. Convenient for a whole host of things, whether it's for serious news, whether it's just for serious discussions like we're having here, or whether it's to stream a birthday party to grandma who can't make it from across the country or around the world.
Right. So there is a function. There's a reason for it. There's use of it, obviously. Look, this is what we've been around a while.
Yes,
I keep reminding people,
at least almost an hour.
Yes, and why we live stream the video as we're doing our podcasts is to get like a 2-for-1, to maximize the social media reach of our live stream, and then we can excerpt and take our podcast from that and distribute it again back online on demand in a smaller, shorter format.
Like bites.
Little bites. But I think that it still goes back to communication technology companies adapting to the on-demand mobile that is going on right now. There's the mobile revolution. I think I actually have some stats about the advertisers and commercials and who's zapping them and how you're avoiding them and all this, because I think people are getting tired. We talk about traditional TV. There used to be breaks in traditional TV shows.
Yes,
there still are.
Well,
right?
Yes, but
there are.
I don't like breaks.
No,
on traditional TV.
Traditional
but you
TV.
don't. Well, the reason I said that is because we skip them because they're being recorded.
Correct. And it's almost worth recording that program
so you can skip it.
So you can zip through it in 20 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
And again, there's old school people like myself that are like, you know what? I need the 2.5-minute break anyway.
To go to the bathroom.
Among other things.
And get a snack.
Absolutely. Get a snack.
Chips, yeah.
My
take multitasking.
Right. My I don't have a dog. Multitasking during the program.
Right.
Okay.
So the question is this. As we know, we've seen other technologies that came out over the past few years, and then there's sort of a glut in the marketplace, and it becomes less of an attractive kind of technology. So is there room in the marketplace for another YouTube? Is it so big, the market I'm talking about, that there is room for everyone to offer up their own streaming or their own video service? Or at some point, does it sort of bring the market share down to where it's not as lucrative for companies to keep doing this, and some will fall by the wayside?
It's like anything else, Dan. You mentioned the market. Money will dictate the future of this. Who is going to be able to reach these eyeballs? Because we all get it's how many eyeballs, how many times, and how often, okay? So it is reach and frequency of delivering an audience and then monetizing that audience. And, again, this kind of segues right into the uninterruptibles, because on these social media networks, you're getting pre-roll video ads, You're getting, I believe they're called interstitial ads
Right,
that are
right.
inside the actual. And that's why podcasting has become a very popular and effective use of advertising dollars, because we can work in the fact that I'm not wearing Mack welded underwear.
Exactly.
You know, and
Yes.
that's a
and
plug
if you were,
for them.
you'd be a lot more comfortable.
I would
right now.
absolutely be more comfortable.
Because
in
of
fact,
the ease
you know
and
what?
the- yeah.
I gotta.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't want to say the name of another underwear company,
No,
or they
no
might
one-
sue us because if
No
I say they're itchy or
suits.
scratchy or whatever,
It's
then
not.
yes.
No. I only have soft things on my body. I only put soft things on my body.
TMI, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyway, yes, and that would be my middle initials, James
TMI,
Young.
yeah.
There you go. So anyway, 90% of consumers now watching video skip the pre-rolls by changing tabs while they're actually getting the information.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
90% of the
interesting.
people and they love to hit that skip ad.
Skip. Oh, I'm a.
Everybody hits the
I
skip.
hit now. So if everybody's
But
hitting
everybody's
it,
using it's interesting. It's the second screen. You're watching something on your main provider, if you
Right.
will. Let's say it's live, because especially if it's live, you're getting 2.5-minute breaks. That gives me 2.5 minutes to check my
check
Twitter
something else.
feed or my Facebook account or my bank account or whatever you
Right,
want to do
right.
during that time. But it's also a time for advertisers to get more information to you,
right.
to hack your brain, because
Oh,
we're not getting enough information.
I don't know
after
that we've
all.
ever made it through a show without brain hacking being brought up, and people are still out there trying to figure out what is Jimmy talking about with this brain
they
hacking.
control
Oh my
the
goodness.
information flow to your brain.
Someday I'm going to get you a T-shirt that says "brain hacking."
My brain has been hacked.
Exactly.
By the way, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Okay,
I'm gonna leave
but
that
no,
one
you're
alone.
right. I mean, there is all the evidence is out there that this is definitely a money making venture where advertisers are realizing that they can get more value through video and through streaming.
Yes.
But they haven't abandoned old school mediums.
Speaking of which,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
one of my least favorite
You hate
companies.
that. That's another thing you bring up from time
I
to time.
hate it.
Yes.
What can I tell you? The only age group watching TV, more TV now, okay, is adults 65 and older.
Oh.
I do not qualify yet, just for the record.
Did I say anything?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You don't have to when I'm around. Studies show even the majority of TV viewers 55 and older use a second screen.
Oh.
So
I do.
yes,
I do.
We all do.
Yeah, we all do. I
Very-
do. We all do. We all do.
We all do. And in
do.
fact, that second screen, we've talked about the interactive TV. We all think that is the next evolution of the next thing, as
Right.
how it's going to be easy to interact with that audience.
But yeah, but the problem is that if you so you're talking about actually going up and touching the TV, or
No,
just
no,
talking to
I
me
think,
through
first
the,
of all, you
hey, would you
can
like to see
control-
the rest of this show? What do you want? This ending or this one? Click.
You can control your television now with your smartphone.
Oh, you can. I can do that with mine.
Right.
I've never hooked it up, but yes, I'm
you
told
can
you
do
can.
that. Okay, so while you are controlling the TV with your iPhone, you can also go to another spot because you're in control of the content that you are consuming.
Right. Yes,
And
you are.
of course, you can also sign up for specific advertisements that you may actually need or want to hear about.
I don't want any of them until I want them.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes I don't know
Till
what I
you
want
need
till I
them.
need them. Exactly.
Yes. And of course, if your brain is hacked, they're going to tell you when
Oh,
you need it.
here we go. Hackathon of your brain. If you
All
like
right.
this episode and you haven't been hacked, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have questions or comments? Reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Are you ready to consume some bites behind the media? For those who can't eat the whole meal, we're serving up a few pieces. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. Okay, Jimmy, You like bites.
You go first. I like the bites, but you go first because you've got some interesting ones, and I got a couple too.
The one that this jumped out at me because I do I'm a professor over at Northeastern University, so
you're an
I hang out
adjunct
there.
instructor, just like me.
I don't have the title of adjunct. No, I don't. I'm not an adjunct.
Really?
No.
Are you
I'm a visiting scholar in residence.
Whoa!
Yeah, that takes
I've
me
never
outside.
earned that title
That
for
takes
obvious
me
reasons.
outside the. So I'm a professor, but
Yes.
I'm not an adjunct. Although on my office door it is the adjunct professor office, but that's not my title.
Interesting.
Mine's a little more interesting and fun
and you are
free flowing.
interesting.
But thank you. So
And
at
a
this
scholar,
university,
I might add too.
so
As
at
opposed to your
Northeastern
co-host.
University, so at Northeastern University, they now, for not all students, but some students now, will be able to have this Echo. You know what an Echo is? It's this Echo Dot.
Isn't it
Amazon's way,
Amazon's Alexa?
Right. You can yell at it and tell it to do stuff, and it'll do.
You don't have to
yeah,
yell.
You talk to it. You
yeah.
have a conversation
Right.
with it. Well, now there's going to be what they're calling the quote-unquote Husky Helper. Husky being their mascot at Northeastern
Right.
University.
Absolutely.
And it's so students, if you want to, or whoever they select, will be able to get a Echo Dot, right, that will be linked to their student account. So you'll be able to wake up and say, hey, Husky Helper, whatever you have to say to it. What time is my class?
How much time do I have before class?
Before class, right.
That's really
how
the
much
question.
money? How much money do I have left in my lunch account?
There you go.
It will be linked to everything, and you can have this conversation with this piece of technology. So you don't have to pick up the phone and talk to anybody. You don't have to log into anything. Go online.
You do have to speak to the device.
Well, yeah, there's still that.
Yeah, there
you
is
do have
that,
to speak.
right? You
Pretty
can't,
soon
like-
they'll get rid of that.
Right.
You'll think about it because kids, you can't make them work that hard and talk to something. They have to think about it. But for right now,
Yes.
they do have to speak to the device, and they can ask it questions, and it will go through their account. It'll be linked to their account, and it will be able to tell them this information.
Now, is the device listening to what's going on in the room?
Well,
I know.
If so, we'll get a lot of great data about what happens in college dorm rooms, although we don't need data to find out what that is.
There's some data we just don't want to know
Don't
about.
ask, don't tell, Mr. Echo. Maybe Echo will plug her ears or his ears.
I
whoever
know,
it
you
is.
know what? It's a
Echo
sure.
Dot.
Echo Dot.
Yeah.
Fine. Good
Okay.
luck.
Cuba. Cuba.
Have you been to Cuba?
I have been to Cuba.
Tell me about Cuba, because it is
Beautiful island.
definitely on my bucket
Beautiful
list.
island. I mean, there's a lot
It's
of.
like going back in time, though.
It
isn't
is. I spent about a week there a couple years ago, and it was a wonderful opportunity. I'd been trying to get there for quite some time. I finally got to go there. There's been obviously a lot of change that's happened in that Caribbean island, but still a long way to go. And one of the issues, they just recently, had a new president. The issue has always been that the press there's no freedom of the press there. Usually the stuff that they put out are transcripts of,
it's
some
a
event.
Castro-controlled island.
Right,
When you get
that's
right down
right.
to
That
it.
still has its grips on
Still.
it. But then, now they're easing. We're seeing some changes here.
Good.
And what they're saying is they're giving a little bit more freedom to state media to report news as it happens.
Real news,
not
fake
as
news.
it happens, not concocted transcripts of something they want to put out there, but real news. For example, there was recently a tragic plane crash that occurred there. More than 100 people died. There was also like a tropical storm of some sort that came through there, and some people died from that as well. And they actually reported it. They had live reports of those events. That's not the kind of thing that they would have reported instantly in that way in the past. And so there's sort of this glimmer of hope on an island that has been so restrictive over really since the 60s.
Right.
And
My
and to see it. Exactly. And so, and my dad, as you know, my dad was born there, so Cuba has been close to my heart for a long time. So when I saw this, it really sort of put a smile on my face. Certainly not the, hey, let's open up the gates and let reporters run around and do whatever they want. But as we know, change always takes time. And this is a small step in the right direction. Now reporters will have the ability to report news in some of the same ways that reporters in other countries have been able to do for quite some time now.
All right. Well, you know what? Again, I'm looking forward to finally when they come up to, if it's turning back the time, let's say to the 60s still, right? Because of the cars there and all this.
Oh, yeah.
When they get
that's
up
cool.
to the 80s, I think I could go visit Cuba.
Why? You want to see the cars of the 80s?
I
Who
prefer
wants
those
see
to the
ca-
60s.
Oh,
I don't
come on.
know.
You've got to be kidding, Jimmy.
I don't know.
You don't even care about cars. Anyone
Dan.
who would make a comment like that,
My point-
that you care more about cars of the 80s
I was using
than
the
you do of the cars of the
cars
60s.
as a
That's
as an example
sacrilege.
of what
Cars of the 80s are crap. There's
Yeah.
nothing cute,
My
nice.
point is,
that
I
was with a
wanted to
K
get a
car.
little bit more
was
modern.
it 70s, late 70s, 80s was the
K-car.
K car.
That's right.
Lord have
I drove
mercy.
one of those.
The only place that deserved
Chevy-
to be is in the graveyard.
All right.
Oh
fine.
my goodness.
I'll
It
go
hurts
there.
my chest.
I'll at some point I'll go there. I'd
Okay.
like to see the baseball game when I'm there.
Yes, baseball is good in Cuba.
Baseball is good. In
Es
Cuba.
muy bueno para
Unless
el
you're Rusney
cubano.
Castillo.
Yes.
Anyway, long story.
Okay, tell me about Roseanne. What's going on with that?
Roseanne-
Or no Roseanne?
Roseanne is not back.
No.
No, but the rest of the people are.
The Connors.
They're going to be called the Connors.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if ABC will have another dog and pony show again because Roseanne was leading the way.
She was leading the way.
And there's good reason for it because they made some money. You have the-
45, I think it was in a 2-month period, they had revenue of $45 million that they had on this. And they dumped the show because of some of the racist things that she had put out there. And so
Roseanne
now,
sends out another tweet.
Yeah.
And actually, it was benign.
it was benign.
It was benign.
Wow.
I regret the circumstances that have caused me to be removed from Roseanne, said Roseanne. I agreed to the settlement in order that 200 jobs of my beloved cast and crew would be saved, and I wish the best for everyone involved. Well,
And the settlement being that she's not part of this show and she has
Right.
apparently no financial interest or connection
why
whatsoever
don't
to
they
the
just call
spinoff.
it after Roseanne?
No, because then her name would be in
Oh,
it. You'd
that's
have to pay
right.
her for that.
Okay, you're
Who
right.
are the Connors, by the way? Was that the name of the
I think
family?
that was the family.
Oh,
I'm going to
I
guess
don't know.
that, right?
Steve, do you know? Was it
Disney's
the
own
name of
Net-
the family, Connors? Where does that come?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
I
gonna-
didn't watch the show.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for them not to call it the Connors.
No.
I mean, you get what I'm saying.
No,
Okay. Now,
Yes.
I really don't care, do you?
Oh, you don't?
No.
I thought you did care.
I do. I care about everything.
It's an image that we were been talking about this week.
Speaking of images,
Yes.
it was Melania Trump getting on a plane to go visit the migrant children in Texas wearing a designer.
A plane. Was it any old plane?
I think it was on a plane.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if it was Air Force.
Oh, it was
1,
Air
2,
Force.
3, 4. I'm sure
yeah, it was one of the. Yeah,
It was the Trump.
but it wasn't like she wasn't walking through an airport.
No, she
was
was
at
walking-
Andrews Joint Base
Wearing,
Andrews.
and by the way,
What?
it's a $39 Zara
Yeah,
jacket.
That's good. You know, that's about how much I pay for my stuff.
Actually,
that's a little too high.
much. That's a
You're
little
right.
too much.
That is a
anyway,
little too much.
$39. It's a designer jacket that says "I really don't care, do you?" While she's on a mission of not mercy, but
It's the whole border issue
the
she
whole
was going to
border
talk
issue.
about.
She's
Right.
going to go make the kids feel better.
And apparently she took it off
almost
when she
apologetic.
got there. So when at the event she took it off, but then they put it back on when she came back, even after knowing that there has already been sort of the talk about what is this. So they knew there was controversy around it, and she still put it back on.
And I believe they've actually
Tone deaf,
turning it
hashtag.
around because they're actually now have a website and a fundraiser where you can actually help fund
Oh, the people with the shirt.
the people.
The
Yes,
Zara or
right.
whatever.
I really
Yeah.
don't care.com is out there, and you can make donations for kids at the border.
Well, I really do care.
That's turning a negative into a positive.
I care
But
about most
tell
things
me
in life.
What went through her mind?
I can't even
I'm
begin.
going to wear this jacket in my closet today while I go do this mercy mission. I mean,
You know what? I don't think as first lady there's ever a reason to wear
Or-
something like that. Because
or
you know
her
what?
hubby.
You got
He doesn't think.
Well, that's what I
she
was
doesn't think. Who thinks anymore?
Well, I was thinking she didn't care about him. But, the bottom line is I don't think anybody needs to be, because as a politician, you should always care about everything. And so
Right.
it's not the kind of thing that you should wear.
And of course, you know what the POTUS tweeted out, right?
What
The
did
real POTUS.
What did the real POTUS tweet out?
He said, "You know what that quote's about? It's about all the fake news that's out there that we just don't care about."
Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
Oh, my God. He never
He's
misses
really
an
got
opportunity
some
to beat up
issues,
on
Dan.
us.
He's got some issues. I just want to say.
You know what? I'm empowered by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
When
glad
people
you
don't
are.
like me, if I'm a journalist, I smile. Because you know what? I don't care.
And I do care what I want
yeah.
people to like me. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel.
You do. You like people. I don't
do.
like people.
I
It's a
understand.
common theme we
Yes,
bring
it
up
is.
time
It
and
is.
time
It is.
again.
It is. It is.
Jimmy is Mr. Mayor, and I am Mr. Mayor behind closed doors. Yes, I don't want to go out and meet the public, but I do. No, in general, people are nice people. Some people, not all. Some.
There are different types everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yes, there are.
I thought everyone was the same.
And before I know you're about to wrap the show, I have to thank the
Yes.
folks across the street for helping out my little procedure that I had. A lot of us that get to the 50, 55,
Yes.
60-year-old range have a certain procedure
Yeah.
that ends in an oscopy. Oscopy. Fill in
Oh,
the
my
blank.
goodness.
Anyway, that
Look up
being
Katie
said,
Couric
they
and
did
see
a
what
great
goes with
job.
that.
You know
Yes.
what? Everybody freaks out about procedures anyway. They really have the people that are there that do this like 50 to 60 times a day.
Yeah, not a job that I'd want to do.
It's not how about the doctor? I'm not going to use her name, but bottom line is this is what she does every day.
Yeah.
And it's her specialty.
It's dirty jobs.
It's
what it is,
and
that
it is
show.
what it is.
Yeah.
But it's anytime you use a scope to go into a body's orifice.
Yes.
This is not something that you really need to
No,
see.
no,
They
no.
hand you HD images of what they
Don't
saw
want to see
and
it.
found.
Yeah.
You didn't want to see that.
The only scope I
I'm
like is
fascinated by
horoscope,
it.
and I don't
Horoscope.
necessarily look at those. But
Anyway, they did a great job over there. I think it's the Boston Endoscopy Center.
Oh well, I like.
175 Worcester Street in Boston. I told them I'd give them a plug.
Yeah, well, maybe they should send you a check.
No, I need a plug now.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord have
This
mercy.
show has deteriorated.
It really has. Thanks for listening and enjoying this podcast. If you're a minor, we apologize. Use a giant eraser and clean out your ears. Like it, share it, keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, and our producer and social media guru, Alex Barth, I'm Dan Lothian.
All right, I'll admit I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.